Hello, Supercoaches, and welcome to the preview podcast, round 10. What the hell are we doing in our hooker position? Peter Mamouzelous is injured, and there aren't any really standout options in the spot. Jett Hatton is here. What are your trades this week?
Mate, this week I'm going to move on Jaxon Purdue. I think he's peaked. Yeah. He's a reluctant sell for me because he's got so much upside, but his break-even's at 100. We've made so much money on him, so we can move him on now for a nice little collect. So I'm going to move him to Dylan Lucas. I think he's a must-have. I think you've got him, so you don't have to get him in. And a little pod move I'm going to do when we get to our pod of the week. I'll break it down a bit more, but I'm going to get rid of Angus Crichton. Yeah. I'm just moved him on because of the origin that he's going to play and all the games he'll miss. And I'm getting in big Leka Halasima. With the blonde hair up top and the black mullet out the back. He's just...
I love how you just chase pods every week. Yeah. I could never go Halasima at the current price. I think like a couple of weeks ago, but I'll still love it. That's your style.
Yeah, I just love him, man. I'm so devastated not going to be at Wynn Stadium this Saturday to watch him. I wish I could, but he's my pod this week and one I'm bringing in.
I've ended up going, even though I talked down Lycan King Togia yesterday for the only reason that you can just wait a week. I didn't actually talk him down as a player or as a buy. I've decided to bring him in for Adam Dewey, which frees up a fair bit of cash. And then I can go Purdue up to Karaz, I'm thinking at the moment, but also really tempted by about 5 other guys in that position, including Farnworth and KL Iro, I should say. So what are your thoughts in that position?
Does it worry you that Karaz could get picked for Origin in a few weeks and then you won't have him as a number over that period? That's the only knock. I've got him as an owner and I'm super happy with it, but bringing him in with all those options there, like Ruben Garrick, you got all those guys, that would be my main concern with bringing him in.
Yeah, well, the issue is that he's got such a good combination with Stephen Crichton, and Crichton's obviously going to play Origin, so they could just pick the Bulldogs' edge. The other factor, though, is that Zach Lomax looks like he's going to play next week, which gives him one game to prove himself to Laurie Daly, so I think he will end up with one spot. Who knows? Look, it's definitely an issue. He's playing well enough to be in Origin, for sure, and he's an Origin style of player in that he's just a guy who can make 20 hit-ups a game, tackle bust, offloads, plus he can score the tries as well. Yeah, he'd be perfect for it.
We were talking before as well how apparently Laurie Daly's already picked his team, so he could already be picked, and we don't already know.
Well, if he's already picked his team like a couple of weeks ago, Karaz hadn't even returned from injury.
Yeah,
so
true.
Maybe he's not even...
he's been about a couple of weeks now, so...
Yeah. Let's talk hooker. So Mamouzelous is injured. There's no real standout guy in the spot. You got Harry Grant injured as well, so it looks like he'll be back next week, which gives him one shot before Origin. But then, he's going to play Origin, so he's not going to be a good purchase for overall players. Cameron McInnes has gone from the third most popular purchase to the most popular purchase. So everyone seems to be getting on McInnes this week. Your thoughts?
I don't have any headaches at hooker just because I got 2 average blokes there, and I just wouldn't look to move anyone at hooker. Yeah. It's a wasteland this year. There's no upside there. McInnes is going to get you, he averages 60 on the season. He's going to get you that 50 to 60 every week, which isn't going to move the needle that much. I think I'd just save my trades and not look to make a move at hooker just because of how bad it is. That's
what I'm doing. I've got Tom Starling in the slot. I'm just going to stick with him as my number one hooker, even though he's not averaging that well, and his minutes have been a little bit iffy this year for the Raiders. He's the best option I've got right now. I can't really improve it that much. So I'll sit with him. I don't really like any of the cheapies in the position as well. Riley Smith, I know you own him already, and you're talking people out of buying him as an owner, which is always a bad sign if you're looking to get on.
Yeah, I would get Riley Smith. He's going to have that nice buy-round coverage, but Brendan Hands is on the extended, I noted as well, so that could be a bit of an issue if Brendan Hands comes back in. The main thing with Riley Smith at the moment is he's playing 80 minutes, but if there's a hooker on the bench there, then I probably won't sell him, but I'd be concerned.
The other guy to point out is Wade Egan, who actually has the best average in the position, but the last couple of weeks he's dropped off considerably. So is Wade Egan the best hooker number one floating around? Also, obviously Connor Watson's probably the number one guy in the slot, but he's got Origin coming up. So thoughts on Wade Egan?
Oh, I'm not that keen on Wade Egan just because of his injury concerns all the time. He just knows how to pick up a head knock and get ruled out of the game. I think the number 1 and 2 guys might be on the same team and they both cancel each other out. Jacob Little nearly turned up on the weekend and Damien Cook's there too. So you'd be praying for one of those guys to get ruled out for a few weeks. So you got a nice option there.
This is the popular move to avoid. What are you thinking this week?
I was sort of tossing and turning. I was going, McInnes, Wade Egan, but I've sort of stuck on with trading out Jenkins if I had him, which I don't because I sold him last week. He's got a break even of 1. He's obviously come off the bench this week, so you wouldn't play him. But if he makes the field, he's going to make some money. Penrith then have a bye, and then into round 12, which is where Dylan Edwards won't be playing and Nathan Cleary won't be playing. So there's every chance that he plays fullback. He's a number there for round 12. And we saw earlier in this year when he played fullback, he put out a big score. So I'd be looking to hold Tom Jenkins and not trade him out.
Yeah, it's an interesting point because Dylan Edwards also is in a slight bit of doubt this week with some hamstring tightness. He got the early shower over the weekend. So there is the chance that Jenkins comes in and plays fullback this week. Or they've got Isaac Tunga floating around who seems to be back in favour, but Jenkins could easily come in at centre. Is Luke Garner really going to keep playing at centre? I mean, I know he's fixed up the defence a lot, but he could go into the back row. So there's lots of moving parts. I wouldn't 100% trust that the team that Ivan Cleary has named will be the team that runs out on the weekend, that's for sure.
Yeah, 100%. It's funny you mentioned Isaac Tunga because I was talking to Wilso yesterday about possibly bringing him in, so he's in our pod of the week a bit later.
Yep, all right, we'll get to that in a sec. For me, the no-go is Sua Fa'alogo. I know he just looks so good and he's going to be a Supercoach superstar and a rugby league superstar at some stage. I just can't trust that he will get a regular position there at the Storm. He's mid-range, so he's 500 odd K. This year, we've had so many good purchases this year that you don't need to be frigging around with these mid-range backline guys who are going to make some quick cash. You've got genuine keepers and you've got cheapies. You don't need these mid-range guys like Fa'alogo.
Yep, 100%. The only thing I'd talk people into, I love a pod, and he's so exciting to watch. Like some of those kicks he put in, the one to Pappenhausen, the other one Ronaldo West straight across the ground that a repeat set out of. That's the only reason I'd buy him, is just to have a bit of fun and watch him play.
Well, for that reason, I've got him involved in my bet of the week later on. So
okay, well there you go.
I'm keen to watch him.
Yep.
I just can't quite bring him in for Supercoach. This is the move you shouldn't make, but you can't help yourself.
Mine is just trading. I don't have to trade this week. I don't have to bring in like a Halasima, but I want to.
Yeah.
I could easily just hold fire and not trade this week and have a nice team to play, but that's just not like how I like to play Supercoach. So yeah, my guilty pleasure is trading when you don't have to.
For me, it's Billy Smith. I could be selling Billy Smith this week, and it makes a lot of sense because he has the buy. The break even is up around the 60 mark, so he's probably peaked for now. But I just like the look of Billy Smith. I just really want him to go well after all his injuries. We know a lot has been going right at the Roosters, to Toya, Nwanganitawazi, etc. I still think a fair bit's going to go left at some stage. So I reckon we're going to see some more price rises from Billy Smith. Plus he covers that round 13 buy. It covers all the big buys. So for me, I'm going to hold, even though he is a popular sell.
He covers all the mini buys too, which is very handy.
On to our best bets powered by Better. What are you thinking this week? I'm
going home soil here, going to Wynn Stadium.
Yeah.
Two blokes that love playing well and showing up at Wynn Stadium. Everyone's jumping off Clint Gutherson, so I'm going to back him in to score a try.
Nice.
In the Tyrell Sloan to score a try. He loves to score a try at Win, and then into the Dragons to win. So you get $6.75 for that.
Nice. I've got the Storm. So the Storm coming off a loss, they always go well. Plus it's at Amy Park. So them to win by 13 plus is pretty obvious, but it's not paying that much. So I've also got Sua Fa'alogo to score a try. I just want to see him get over with that big belly flop try and get in there, and that'll get me $2.50.
Oh, it's a bit up from normal.
I'm taking a few risks.
We hit last week. I think. What did you get? Penrith last week. So
I think I got up last week as well.
Yeah,
but it was paying. I was paying.
Winners win, mate.
$2. What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, call 1-800-858-858 or visit gamblinghelponline.org.au. Heaps of questions coming through this week. A lot about Jenkins, which we've already probably covered. The other is Purdue from Samuel. He's asking, Purdue is a borderline keeper. Why would you sell Purdue? I think that's correct. He's been great this year, but he doesn't quite have the base stats of the guys that you can get him to for basically a straight swap. Like Dylan Lucas is a straight swap. Kale Iro is basically a straight swap. Farnworth, basically a straight swap. Same with Karaz. So you can get these real proper guns of Supercoach for about the same price. So I think it's a pretty obvious trade. And he doesn't play around 12.
Yeah, I just think, as I said earlier, I think he's a reluctant sell just because of how good he's been. The Cowboys are firing, but he doesn't play around 12, doesn't have that base output, as you said. And look, we made so much money with him. We can just sort of move him on. And if he does, he's got a high break even. So if he goes back a bit in price and then starts firing again, we can always bring him in for some guy who might be peaking or is injured at the time.
Question on a guy who I haven't even mentioned at all is Jake Simpkin. Some people are getting around him for $379K. Do you like that?
Nah,
it's basically the same price as Mamouzelous, and it's highly likely that Mamouzelous is the guy that you'd be selling.
Yeah, well, Jake Simpkin's never really been a Supercoach relevant player. They got Jazz Tavanga there as well, who's probably going to spell him. So I would be staying.
I actually
very far
probably
away.
think Jazz Tavanga is the better buy out of those.
Yeah, well, I did too. He knocked out about 70 something on the weekend, and he's starting at hooker there, and he's got the dual position. So if you were looking at Simpkin, I'd take a bigger look at Jazz Tavanga.
I know you've been waiting for this since the start of the show. Hit us with what you got.
Yeah, well, I got Isaac Tungo in there. He's a round 12 number for me. I was going to bring him in this week. I was talking to Wilso yesterday, but just because I want Halasima, another guy I'll get to. Cleary's firing, and when Cleary's firing, Isaac Tungo fires. He gets that little chip kick over the top that he scored off a couple times this year. He can go big in weeks at a time, but he's got to buy next week, and then they play round 12. So I think he's a round 12 buy, but you could definitely go early. He's about 460K with a low break even. And then my other guy's Leka Halasima, just a beast. 55 minutes in pure base last week, played 80 minutes, which is what I liked. They play the Dragons, the Dolphins, Canberra at New Zealand, and then the Bunnies. So they got a good draw. They're playing well, the Warriors, and he's exciting.
Halasima, just on eye test alone,
He looks like such an elite.
He looks elite, and he'd just be fun to own.
Yeah, and then you might see me next week if he turns up with a blonde haircut and a mullet like he does. So
I hope so. It's not like you to gloat though. No. I've got Kale Iro. I love the name change. I love the base stats. Finally getting some tries. Last year, obviously, it was basically all base. This year he's getting some tries. So I'm liking what I'm seeing from him. But is he a better option than Farnworth, Karaz, etc.? Lucas I already own. I'm not quite sure, but I'll let you know on the Late Mail podcast tomorrow.
Yeah, well, the bye coverage is good. They go left a lot with Trindle. Scoring tries this year, as you said, like last year was just never really getting tries, but he'd get all his points in base, so I like it.
On to Cheapies. So not the best week for Cheapies. The most popular is Riley Smith, who we've both talked down already. So next on the list, like in King Togia, you don't have to go this week, so you can wait. The safe option is to wait, but a lot of people are just doing it this week. I can get around it. I think I'll end up doing it. Adam Dewey down to him makes sense for me. Plus, we've got dual position updates are coming either later today or tomorrow morning, so look out for that story. If he plays 2 more games, which will be 3 all up, at halfback, he will earn dual position status. He's got just enough time to earn dual for round 12, so that'll be really handy.
They will be handy when we're looking to move on guys like Cleary and that over the origin period. He can, and you got centre wings at stuff you can move up. I really like him. The thing about getting him this week is it frees up a trade for you to use next week, so you don't have to bring him in, and it also frees up the cash. So I'm glad I brought him in last week because it gives me flexibility and money to move around stuff this week. So that's a plus about going early on these type of guys.
And if you missed Jett's stats from last week, he makes something like 15 runs a game or something in New South Wales Cup. So
he did the same.
Very much a running, even though he's playing technically halfback. He's really playing like a 5'8" with lots of runs. Luron Patea was huge for the Panthers on the weekend. Crossed for a try. It's a tough position for Supercoach. Like props, cheapy props are basically impossible to come by. But what you need is someone with a little bit of impact, and I think he has that with all the tackle busts and the try last week.
He's got the impact, but he doesn't have the minutes.
Yeah.
He played round 1 against Cronulla, played about 19 minutes, 28 minutes on the weekend, got a try. Could just be a bit of a Royce Hunt sort of situation, where he's big impact off the bench and he's a great footy player, but Supercoach-wise, he's just not relevant and could be that AE sort of nightmare.
Yeah, we've got Loco Pacifici Tonga as well making his debut for the Dragons, so another guy to watch. But I think with prop being so good this year, you don't need to stash Cheapie there. They're going to be an AE nightmare. You should be able to have guys like Haas, Terrell May, maybe Corey Horsburgh and Nafa'u White, Tino.
Yeah.
You should be able to have 4 pretty good props.
Yeah, or Valmunga just punching away there.
Yep, indeed. And Hugo Savala, so obviously on the bye this week, but still pretty popular. First 2 games in the halves, he got 2 20s, then got 2 60 odds in a row. So he's got a negative BE. Should see some big price rises. The safe option, again, is to wait until next week. But still, if you have to go this week and you need someone in the back row in particular, then why not?
Yeah, he's trending upwards, and it is a shame they're on the bye this week because Sandon Smith probably wouldn't have played, and he was kicking goals when Sandon Smith went off. Hit him all right, so you wouldn't imagine he'd kick goals against the Bulldogs. But he's around, his bye coverage is great, trending upwards, dual position. I like it.
What do you reckon about nothing?
I've never been a nuffer.
We're hearing lots around the office about going the early nuff, even now, given that we've got the new flex position. But it's round 10. I think it's just way too early. A lot of people are talking about nuffing at hooker with guys who you can swing in positions with Connor Watson, etc. I just can't get around it in round 10. Round 22 at the earliest, even with the flex rule.
I'll never nuff. It doesn't matter if it's round 28. I like having depth all across my teams because there's going to be weeks like this when guys have injuries, they got all the Roosters on the bye, and you're going to be struggling to find numbers. If you've got enough, it just makes that so much more trickier. I like to have all my guys playing, and gives you so much more flexibility and it relieves some stress too in those type of periods.
Indeed.
Yeah, big no for me on nothing.
Supercoach Plus is going for $29.95 for the year. All your stats, projections, cash cows, that sort of stuff you can get for $29.95, and the code subscription is $59 for the year. It's $1 a week. All the articles, all the videos, podcasts, plus all the stats for $1 a week. It's a bargain. Captaincy this week. What are you thinking?
I'm going to go VC Kalen Ponga.
Yeah.
Showed a bit of form last week. It's either him or Scotty Drinkwater that I'm thinking of VCing, but at Newcastle, I think I'm going to VC Ponga. And as a rule, you always captain Ryan Pappenhausen at Amy Park, so captain Pappy.
We completely agree on the captaincy, so it's a bit of a boring segment.
Yeah.
As you said, Pappenhausen at his stats at Amy Park are just ridiculous, and it's up against the Tigers, who are going pretty well, but
they're up and up. They've got to have a low game soon, and it could be coming this week.
Yeah, I mean, defence isn't their forte as well. It's mostly the attack that they're getting home on. And then, so we got Payne Haas at 22%. Is that a bit high?
Yeah, as I keep saying, I don't like captain and a middle forward, especially who are they playing this week, the Broncos? But if it's a bit of a blowout, like they can blow teams out, his minutes aren't going to be there. So you play that bit of a risk, but
playing a bit of edge as well, which I don't. Yeah. I think it's good for his minutes, but I don't like it for his impact.
I like it for his upside, but not for his safe. Yeah, how safe he is. But if you got Pappy, I'd just captain him.
Ponga, to elaborate on him, it's 21%. I've got the VC on him, so it's pretty popular. Up against the Titans, who just leak points for fun at McDonald Jones Stadium. So I think. Yeah, I can't think of myself VCing anyone other than Ponga this week. Yeah,
how much did Kiraz put on him on the weekend, and then Scotty Drinkwater the week before, and Hudson Young the week before? It's just they're a Supercoach goldmine to target the Titans.
Some questions to end the show: Purdue for Kiraz or Dylan Lucas? Who are you taking first there?
Wait, Purdue for Kiraz, or I'd take Dylan Lucas just because of his duel that he's got. Hopefully he doesn't play Origin, base. Knights are on a upward spiral. He's a bit cheaper than Kiraz too. Kiraz is getting up there, so I'd pick Dylan Lucas.
Yeah, Dylan Lucas for me is the must-have in that slot.
Yep.
Yeah, buy schedule is great. No buy until around 18. Origin's the only issue, but it's surely an outside chance. He's been so, particularly with that injury recently.
Yeah.
If he'd played 10 games in a row, then he might be a chance, but I don't think it's going to happen. Can we have Ponga, Sharpe, Marju, Lucas, Cant, and Best all in the same squad? This is one of the reasons why I'm avoiding Fletcher Sharpe this week. I know they've got such a great bye schedule, and he won't play Origin, and he's looking really good. But I already have Ponga, Marju, and Lucas in the side. Thomas Cant, you can sell. He's not in the 17 this week, so I think he does have to go. But can you have all those blokes in one?
It's crazy how bad the Knights are going, but they're still so Supercoach relevant.
Yeah.
You couldn't have that many because they're going to have weeks where they get pumped, they don't score any points. So I wouldn't have that many.
Which has already happened a bunch of times this year.
Yeah, and you just be holding your head in your hands.
That's it for our preview podcast, round 10. Big thanks to Jett backing up twice. We'll catch you for the late mail podcast tomorrow. See you then.